Done?
Yes, I think there is Chennai one. So all this happening.
Ready?
Yeah, we are live as well.
Cool.
It started?
Let's get started. Bangalore chapter is currently now managed by Shruti and what do you think?
Thank you. So hey, hello everyone. I'll start the slideshow.
Last November.
Okay. Who can check the audio for the live audience?
You go ahead. You just
Okay. Cool. So hello everyone, and sorry for some delay. We were facing some technical issues. I think after COVID, everyone needs some jerk to wake off. So this was the wake up call. So welcome everyone. First, I'll take some 10 minutes to include why we are here and what the thing we are doing. So we are part of Laravel Live India. So as Lalit had already updated you, Laravel is a PHP framework which is widely used, popularly famous, and it has just not created only the backend part, but it has created the complete ecosystem out of it. So even if it is Tailwind, if it is front end, if it is backend, it has everything to offer. And based on that, we had some conferences which are LaraCon. So LaraCon is something which is happening across the world, not in India. These all are the online events. Of course, we can join anytime. The links and all are shared on the Twitter handle and all. And the same chapter, like same thing, what we have made is Laravel Live India. So this is the logo for the Laravel, the new Laravel. I'll show you the live website as well. Oh, website streaming. Do I need to stop this to show the? I need to show the browser. That is. Oh. Okay. Right. So LaraCon. So this is LaraCon for you. This is Laravel Live. Okay, so and yeah, first Laravel, then everything will start. So this is the main thing, Laravel, which is a PHP framework, as you know. I'll not speak much about this because you can check the creditability of this on going on the GitHub and all. So it's very highly used, very big stars, and a lot of people are using. And I think it's now 8 to 9 years it is in development. So it has done a lot of progress. And with the logos below, you can already think that how much the things are going on. So this is the one Laravel which has gathered us all together, and the local chapter, like the India chapter, what we call is Laravel Live India. And communities, if you see, we have all these communities, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Chennai, and still growing. So and being a Laravel Live, it doesn't mean that we just talk about Laravel, but as it is where we are derived from, so we just try to give credits to that, and we have everything related to development, open source, Tailwind, everything which is connected, not connected, AWS as well. So if you just check out the Laravel or Laravel Live handles, you'll get to know more about this. And this is what LaraCon, which is online conference. I think it was there pre-COVID times as well, but after this, during this COVID time, this got very much hype because people were not moving and they were not going anywhere. So this all in all is into different communities, but all connected with Laravel with different flavors or different local communities added. Okay, so this is why we are here. And one more plus point is, I think that we will update you at the end of this thing, which is like we have the conference coming in the next year. So that is the reason that we all have gathered here to get back on sharing knowledge, growing the community, and giving back to the community. So if any one of you would like to join us, would like to share us your knowledge or something, let us know. And in any of the next event, we can have the stage handed over to you, and you can also present. So as I have told, these are the Twitter handles and the Facebook page what I mentioned. I recommend and request everyone to follow these things, mainly the Laravel India, which is the Twitter handle for Laravel Live India, and that is the parent entity, and then the sub entities are Chennai, Bangalore, Pune, Nagpur, everywhere. Okay, so that is all for the description on the Laravel Live. Now coming back to my presentation, so we will be doing today the rediscovering JavaScript. Although it is exactly not connected with Laravel, as I said, we don't do just for Laravel, but it is all the open source community what we do. And I'm sure you all have heard about JavaScript, and coming from the JavaScript background or working on React or anything, I think you should know what is DOM. So today I will be talking about DOM. We will try to understand what DOM is and why it is important to understand, because now different frameworks coming out, the React, the Vue, React or anything, we need to understand how those things are playing with the DOM. So I'll be doing that. My name is Tarunkumar. I am a software engineer since 10-11 years now, and I used to keep meetups in Bangalore long back. I work in a company called Power School, which is located in this campus only, and I work there as a lead engineer. And apart from my development skills, I love to share my knowledge, where I meet and greet people like you and I share my knowledge. So if we talk about the topic today, so DOM, I am sure you all know what is DOM. Don't worry, it will not be much of the presentation. I just want to keep the things intact. So I have a few presentations, but mostly we'll go live and we'll see. So what is DOM, if I ask you guys here? Anyone knows what it does? Of course, it's document object, but what it does, how it goes, any idea? Rendering. Correct.
DOM is just helping, I think, one way to help developers or give them accessibility to access different parts of the UI.
Correct. That's right. So if I put it in technical, it's a memory representation of the HTML document. When we say memory representation, that means it also provides us API where we can, if we want, let's say we want to get all the p tags, all the paragraph tags or all the anchor tags, we can use this DOM element, we can traverse the whole document, and then we can get the element which we need. And what we will do after we get that element, we will do some actions. Either we will remove, edit, update, whatever the action we want to do. So DOM is very fundamental of all the frameworks, whatever you're using, the front-end framework, or if you say that you are a front-end developer, not as in full stack, but if you say that you're a front-end, then you are actually using DOM a lot. Maybe unknowingly or maybe knowingly, but DOM is which is the glue between your APIs, which is React or Vue or JavaScript or jQuery, and between the HTML and JavaScript. So we will see today some live examples how the DOM is traversing, and the same example what I am doing, we can use the jQuery as well, but just to keep it simple and just to keep it to the roots, I will be using JavaScript. We can use jQuery as well. So to define again, so DOM is its acronym as Document Object Model, and it is the in-memory representation of HTML. And when we say in-memory, it means we have the power to control the nodes. Each and every nodes we can traverse, we can find, we can edit, we can update, we can delete. Basically, we can do all the options. We have full control. And the root element of the DOM tree, or like when we go for the DOM, next comes is the DOM tree. Why we call it as a tree? Because I think animation will not work. So I think it is converted part. Is it coming?
Yeah.
Oh, is it? It's not showing me. Okay. Okay. So when we talk about DOM, DOM is generally the DOM tree, which is nothing but a representation of nodes. So everything and anything inside the HTML is called nodes. Okay. HTML elements are also called nodes, and apart from HTML elements, whatever the nodes connecting, like we use siblings, pre-siblings, post-siblings, whatever, these all are called as nodes. Why we are calling it as node? Because that is how the DOM has been made, and because of that, it gives us more control to connect with that and move the data out or not. So if you see the very first root child is the HTML. Actually it should be inverted tree, but I thought not to change the environmental things, and I kept the tree intact, and I'm going from the below bottom. Okay, so HTML is the root element. After root element we have two nodes, which is head and body. This is very basic HTML, I think you all know. And after that, let's say from head we will have titles, links, meta tags, all those things. So that will again become a new branch, and in our body we will have div, p tag, anchor tag, link tags, everything, whatever actually the body which the user is seeing. So that is what all the DOM tree is. So Why this is called the DOM tree and why we need to understand is because while accessing these DOM elements, we need to understand certain relationships which are related to the root element. For example, if HTML is there and I want to traverse to the head, so in our JavaScript, it will give us a value where you can use the document .head because that is an HTML. I'll show you the demo. I'm trying to explain this, why it is called tree and why we need to understand that, because in the tree we have certain relationships. For example, as I went from bottom to up, so when we went from HTML to head, we got two child element, which is head and body. After that, the head has their own child elements, which will be links, HTML things, meta tags, everything. So they all are connected with someone. How they are connected? We have the relationship called parent and child. So if I say head.getChild, so whatever elements are there in the DOM for that particular element, that all we will get. You can shift down, no? You can occupy. Am I audible till there? Okay. So we have a relationship also in our documentation in the DOM, and we have the elements like first child, first sibling, last sibling, like that also we can traverse. Okay, so this is the basic for the DOM and DOM tree, and we just need to understand what element we are trying to target. For example, if we have the menu tag which is having 4 links, so we have 4 child in that, but we want to target the first one or the last one or the second one. So how we can do is we need to know the relationship. From that relationship, we again have further more controls where we can control them. Okay, so this is what the whole DOM tree is. Now, as I said, all the elements in the HTML are nodes. So now let me go back to the practical now. So let's say I'll just try to go. So inspect element, as you all know, the very helpful thing for the developers. Actually, I said the lifeline of the developers. Those who are working in the front end, they almost understand its value. Those who are not, they'll get to know very early if they are working in the front end. Whenever you get any errors or issues, the inspect element is the thing where we go first. Okay, so as you all know, like JavaScript is already installed, so there's no thing to install. We can directly go into console. And if I give you example on where can I get the console screen? Okay, so first thing is, let's say document. So as I said, if we can access it, shall I increase the fonts? Okay. Okay. So the first element, or this is the parent. So if I write document, it will give the whole document. If you just see, it will have the complete document, whatever this particular page is built up. Now, as I said, first after the this thing, we can also access, and same thing we can also do with the help of, for example, we have document and then we have head. If I type this, we will get the head element of this particular page. Or if I go to a very simple site, actually this is the thing which I do sideways. I'll show the commands here. Okay, so this is very simple. Actually, it is not having much of the elements, so it will be easy to see here. So if I click on the head element, it has given me all the elements which are there in the head of this DOM. So just by typing document.head, I got all these elements. Now, if I give the child nodes and data, it will give me further data. What are the child, what are the nodes, how many nodes we have. Just to give you example, and as we are working in this console element, we get the privilege of checking what all options we are having. So if I go again to document.head.child element node counts, see when we say child elements, so these are the HTML elements, and when we count about nodes, as I said, everything is nodes, so node will be different. So child nodes are showing us 21. So this all text and whatever you see, text, meta, title, these all are actually in there in this one. But when as I'm saying that when we use the nodes, it is added on the wrapper of the JavaScript function, and in that function they're adding much more data, which helps us to get more control on that. But generally what we work on are the HTML elements. But for example, sometimes in React we are adding first child, we are adding last child, or in between. So at that point these all nodes are used. Okay, so don't get confused with the node elements and elements. When I will type the elements will mean the proper HTML elements on which we can work, the actual representation where we are working, and nodes are something which is there inside. For example, if you see text, meta, these all are different types of child nodes. And if you want to further get this, now you guys have used the jQuery. Same thing, like if I want to get, let's say, document dot query. So we have query selector, and if I type head, okay, I got the same thing. And if you use this one, which is jQuery, and in this again, if you add head, you will be able to find the same answer. But as you see, these are the two functions which is I was talking about, the wrapper. These are not the node functions, but if you see, we got basically the head operator we are getting, and in that we get the same thing. But as I said, I will be focusing on pure JavaScript. You can use the same thing with the help of $, which is jQuery as well. So we have query selector, and if I just show you the options, there are documents dot query selector, and if we see the options, we have a lot of different options which are there. So append child, clone. There's actually a lot of things. It is not a simple part to work on the complete DOM in one go, but the basic idea what here is, the main thing is we can connect with our document model, we can find the node or HTML element, and we can change it or update it. So that is what the main goal of this. Now there are different properties to connect with our document. So one I showed you is the query selector, and let's say if I select head over here, so this will give me the head element. Okay, same thing, for example, I want to get all the UL elements or LI elements. So I got, okay, so here if you see, I got only one LI element, not the all, because we have more than one. If I see the two events, we have more than two for sure. So for that, we have to use selectors all. So there are some different functions what we are using, but the gist of this is we are using only the pure JavaScript one, which is there. Selector all, and if I pass li again, we will get the array of these things. So now we got 13 node items, and these all are links which are somewhere added into this page. So this way we can traverse the HTML, we can find which node we want to go and where we want to go. So this is part one, where we have only the elements going on. Now next is if we have some events, inputs, for example, that is where we work on, right? We get the data from the user, we get the email address or something, and we want to put extra validation, or we want to validate how to get that. So for that also we can use this documents.forms. So if you add forms, and you get all the information, like what all data we have, what all things we can do. So if you hit enter, just think, this will give you all the forms which are there in this DOM. So many times this is the thing how, you know, even the clickbaits, or we say that JavaScript is used for hacking, and also this is the way how they do. They go to the DOM, they track your anchor link, they change the href example I'm saying, and this is the same power for which the DOM is used, where we are going to the one link, we are going to the second link, and then they are changing, updating the data. So this is how we will be doing. I'll just show you one or two more events where we can change the DOM and update the elements directly from this place. Now we'll go back to the let's say the li part. So we have li. Now let's say if I want to take the first item, as I said, right, the siblings, the parents, and also that is what we can use it here. For example, now if you see, this all is an array, whatever records we got, and it is just highlighting it, but it is not yet. So this represented, these all are array. So we can access the array with the help of the key value pairs. I hope this all you're aware. So we have the arrays, and they all are stored in the key value pairs, like 0, 1, 2, 3 till then, and 0 is the first element. If we have 7 elements, we'll see elements till 6. So if I do this 0, if you see the highlight part, that is showing me the first item. Like that, I can go to second, third, or anything like that. And if you see even the inspect element, it is also showing which element it is connecting. So that is at the top one, the top meetup link which is there. These are the links, and then we have these events as well. Okay, so this is how the traversing is happening. Now, any questions till now? Any doubts or any questions? Yes.
How do we prevent it?
So for that, for example, I'll give you an example for the anchor tag. Now, if you are building any website or something, and if you add any anchor tag here, and if any link is going outside, we add no rel tag. So there are tags, or there are some preventions which are guided by the W3 schools or by some security groups which we need to add along with the tags. So HTML tags, in that we have different properties. So for example, this example, if you see, this is the link, the external link, it is there. Now if you go into the performance, the Lighthouse, how to use Lighthouse and all. I think this will go away from topic, but I'll give you one insight. If you go into Lighthouse and if you click on your website, how it is performing. Okay, let me do that. So Lighthouse is actually, generally it will perform whatever you said, the security, the speed of your page, how your elements are added. If there is any element which is having the head tag but not the closing tag, any errors or issues on your website. So this will also recommend you if some element need an extra parameter to be added. For example, the text area. So in text area, you should add no rel, no external faculty like that. If you're using JavaScript, you should add no external JavaScript. So these are extra parameters which are suggested by, or the basic security that are suggested by the W3 schools or by community. Those all things you need to add into your HTML element. With that, they will be little bit secure, so that people will not be able. For example, if you remember, there was one event on iframes. So in one screen we have another iframe, right? So someone was able to hack that iframe in our system. So for that, then they share us few attributes. Those attributes we need to add into our elements, and your thing is secure. For example, the anchor tag, what I shared. So in anchor tag, whenever they say, like, if I run this report, it will show me in the security, and it will show that you should add no rel tag. No rel means if your link is not internal, if it is going external. For example, YouTube. This particular link is going to my YouTube channel. So in this, they will recommend that you add a no rel tag, you add no ref tags. Like, there are attributes which are given. If you add those, the basic security will be maintained for you. That's how we do the security as well. But the example what I gave, the reason for that example was earlier, when this all DOM thing and started, when a lot of pop-ups were coming, we were not sure why these pop-ups are coming, but these pop-ups were actually taking control of our DOM, and from there they were extracting information. So that's why I said that it is like you say, right? With great powers, you have great responsibility. So you can use it in positive way, you can use it in negative way. So React and all are example for that, and React Vue and all are example for that, and hacking also happens based on this one. That's why one of the reason why people say JavaScript is so much important or so much easy or so much highly used is these reasons, because it's easy to install, it is already there, you just add one command. For example, if I add an alert here, you all know, right? If I add an alert, it will come alert, pop up, everything will come. And when that comes, that means we are giving the access of our screen, right? So that's wholly a different topic, but it's on security. But I just give an idea, like DOM is something where these people are targeting, and the anchor tags or links. Many times, we if we say that earlier the sites were hacking, what were happening? Like, for example, if I click on this YouTube, instead of it going on my YouTube, it will go to some other's YouTube. How it was done? They traversed the DOM, they took the A tag and replaced it and did the thing, right? So that is how the thing goes. And DOM is somewhere which is responsible to do that.
So if we add no rel, they won't be able to change that thing.
No rel, I'm not sure exactly what it will do, but if we add no rel, which means no relation, it will not allow any other entity to change that value. Href or something will not change. That's how they are doing. I don't know exact details, but yeah, there are some extra elements which we need to add into an HTML element, and the basic security will be maintained. After that, we have server security, HTTPS things, and all those things. Yes, please.
Can you quickly touch upon how virtual DOMs versus actually working on the real DOM?
What can I do? I didn't get you.
Virtual DOM versus working on the real DOM.
Virtual DOM.
In the sense of React doesn't let you access the DOM. So.
That I'm not sure as of now. I'm not sure. I'll prepare for that. But they all are working on DOM. And if you recall how we are writing that element is, we are taking the root element, right? For example, I'm not showing you exactly that, but for example, let's use query selector. And let's say root element, we have the body element, okay? So if I get the body element, what we do in React, we take inside the body element, we add the root element, right? And we have the ID. So again, if we go into the DOM, we have the get element by ID, like this. and let's say name is container. I'm not sure. It is not ID, but I think it's a class. Okay. So if I add by class name, and container is the one of the, because I'm using Bootstrap, this is the website what I work, or this is my passion. So if you see, we got all the DOMs. Now in this DOM is where they traverse the data, and then they get the data. I can guide you on one thing. If you go into Vue or React, I don't recall, but if you guys all follow this free coders camp on YouTube or on website, couple of months back they have shared the very first commit of Vue.js. So in that they have mentioned how the creator, like, he was actually first trying to inspect, like, get the hold of the first element. I have bookmarked it. It was very interesting. I'll share with you, but that is what the connection from this DOM to that DOM goes. So in that, if we add this curly braces, so he was actually trying to add the curly braces and trying to change that parameter. For example, we are using the nodes and all, right? I can share you, but as of now, I'm not, I haven't moved in that way, okay? So the main idea here, what we are talking about is the DOM part, okay? So the DOM, what we are able to access, that is how the data or the complete document is accessed. I have shared few elements, document get element by class, we have by ID, and same thing as you guys all will be doing with the help of dollar and hash node, which is jQuery. So the main intent for what I thought to share is how this DOM and how this parent child sibling and all this is working, okay? I'll give one or two example on the siblings part, or how we can get the siblings. For example, we went ahead on that YouTube section, right? Do we have time? I'll take 5-10 more minutes. So we'll do. Okay. So what I will do is, so if you see, this is these are just two links which I have added, and if I see the forms, okay, let's work on the forms now. So the main idea for this particular thing is, with the help of JavaScript, the pure JavaScript without using anything, we can access the DOM. And yeah, one more point I missed to inform you. I hope you all might have heard about or seen this thing online or somewhere. So what is this? Whatever commands we are using, for example, get element by class, this all are available in V8 engine, which is Google's engine or Chrome's engine in which it is working, and same engine is used by Node.js. So if this particular function, for example, node.getElements by class name, or these all functions or objects, if they are working or not in your browser, that all you can check from can I use or not. I hope you know. So if you, for example, if I add this particular get elements by class name, it will show me what all browsers it is supporting. For example, IE will not be there, the very old, so we can say that it is working in others but not in IE, something like that. So you can always use this. For example, if you are going ahead and building your own DOM and you are using some functions, you should use the function which is available on all the browsers. So this particular website will help you which all things are available and which all things are not. So for example, get element by class name, so all the latest browsers as well as these different types of browsers are using it. That's all we can find. This is just to motivate everyone to you make another DOM based element, for example React, Vue, and maybe you guys make something else. So for that you should know what is DOM. So we are at very basics now. Okay, cool. So I'll give one demo on how to add a ULLI element. Okay, so document dot query selector, and I know that there is a nav bar, so I'll take that, and I'll take the ULLI tag. Okay, so if you see the observe part, that is what it is connecting. I just have my code handy so that I don't go in some wrong way. Okay, so before that I missed to share one more thing, which was the types. Okay, let me go there first. Okay, so I'll go towards the node items and all those things, and then I'll come back to this point. Okay. For example, documents dot query query selector all. I'll use, let's say, nav dot ULLI. Sorry, I missed that example. I think navbar should be there, right? Selector. I'm just trying to access with the class, which is navbar. Yeah. So this is again I'm using the navbar, which is one of the element. Now in case if I want to go to check the children's, okay, let me use document.head.child element count. I think children I already showed you, right? So child element count and children, we have different things, and as I told, right, we have nodes as a separate, so all the things are as node, and in nodes we will see node types. Yeah, I was going towards the node type. So if I go to node type W3 schools, if I'm going back to the presentation what I was showing, so node type is actually, we have different types of node types, and these all properties are mentioned here, which is 1 to some numeric value, and they have some field or some information, for example like this. So we have node type 1, 2, 3, like these all are the different nodes type which are referenced into the DOM, and that is how they are used. I just thought to share this one because when we check for any of the node type, we get the type 1, type 2 like that. I'll show you the example in our this thing. So that is actually it is not used as in coding because that is not the HTML element, but when we are using the DOM elements or when we are actually coding something, at that point of time we need to know what type of node type we are working on and what it will do. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay, I hope it is there. So documents, query selector, I'll use the, so this is the ID what I have in my this thing, navigation, the selection is there, and then I use query selector all. So I'll get all the elements in that, and I want the elements are li, and from this element I'll check on the number 1, the first one, which is the events, and here if I do node, so if you see we get node name which is coming as li. So if it is an element, HTML element, it will be the capital lock li, caps lock. It will also have node type, so it says node type 1, right? So this is what I was referring to when we say node type 1, that says element means the actual HTML element, and this was li. So when I was doing the node name, it was showing us, so if I go back and I type node name, it shows li in caps lock. So that this is what node type, node name, and the another so node type, node value, node attributes, and all those things. So this is where we as I said, this is not used as in directly into the elements, but when we are using the DOM, when you're traversing, you should know what is the node name, what is the type. Based on that only you can do the next, you can perform based on these types only, else it will not work. Because for example, if it is li, we may be able to add a new node, we can add a new parent, but if it is a text, we can't add anything in that. Okay, so that's why it is important. And in the same example, so for example, if you see, I have chosen the first element, right? Now in this, the relationship what we were doing. So if we do siblings, so if you see next element sibling, next sibling. So this how we can, if we do element, I will get the node, the HTML elements. Now if you see the next sibling, this is again the node type, text. This is not a node element, not li, not input element, anything. This is one of the internal thing which I was saying, that along with the node elements, we get these types also. So that is one example. And if you open this, it will just give you, so when I done that nodes, right, get all element nodes, you will get text also, you'll get HTML elements also. But if you want only the HTML elements, we don't use the nodes, we use the next element sibling, or next element sibling this is what we use. Okay. So when we do this next sibling and just like this next previous, everything we can get on the selector. And the same thing, of course, if you know what is the class name, you can access that dot class name and you can do. Okay, now I'll move on to the last section. Okay, I'll just close this. So now we have a document, we have child element, we can traverse to the child element, we can also take the complete ULLI. Now I'll just give one last point on this, which is I'll be trying to change this DOM, change by adding one more element into the DOM, which is again with the help of code or through the DOM APIs. Okay. Okay, so first it will be document. I've just written down the thing so that I don't miss in the live one. Okay, navbar, and I'll take all the UL. The inspect element is very good in this thing, where whatever I'm selecting, it is giving the UI field so that we can know what exactly the things is going into. Okay, so if I add selectors, I got two node lists. So these two node lists are that contact us and events. Now I'll take the I think I'm on the right track, and here I'll add the events node. Okay, I'll go back here. So there is a file, there is a navbar dash nav. This is the whole UL. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll store this in a function name, which I name it as navbar. Okay, so what I've done is the UL tag, whatever I have my elements, I have taken that stored into the function. That is again one new thing which we can do in the DOM. We can get all the data stored into our variable. Okay, now the whole UL element is there. Now what I'll do, I'll create a new element li and create an anchor tag. In that I'll try to attach the child node and then again fix it to this UL element. Okay, so first I'll create the list item, which will be document again dot create element. Okay, and I'll give the element name as li. I've given list time. Okay, and then I add a tag, which is again I'll create element document create element, and that will be anchor tag. Okay, and this will also show that how we are able to add the properties, like anchor tag will have the properties of class, href, and those things. Okay, so this is next. So these both are empty as of now, and now in a tag I'll use class list dot add, and nav list is the CSS what I have written to get it into line, so I'll use the nav list. If I hit enter, you will see that earlier it was empty a tag. Now we got the tag, which is the nav list as a class list we have added. Next I'll add the name, so a tag dot inner HTML. So these all are the different APIs what you guys are actually using in your JavaScript when you are changing the DOM, updating the DOM. So this sometimes we are not, when we are running the array, sometimes we are not sure which elements it is getting. So console can help you in that a lot of times, that you can check the value, what are the total number of arrays, and then you can loop on each and you can change the value. Okay, so I'll just write AWS anything, so that will be coming as a value. So we'll get a link as AWS, and what is left? href. So sorry, a tag dot href. We are able to access the property if you see directly, and just to keep it simple, I'll keep http youtube.com. Okay, just for example. And so our anchor tag is completely done. If I show you the anchor tag, we have element. We created A also with the DOM. We added the class, we added the href, and also the name directly from the DOM elements. Now I will attach this to this as a child node to the list items. So we have list time dot append child, and the child will be a tag. So if I do list time now, it will be between these things. Okay, and then I need to attach this to, no, did I made any mistake? List time. Okay, so if you see li element, we have this li element and we have our anchor tag. Now the ul tag what I have taken earlier, which I have named navbar, so I'll attach into navbar. Navbar dot attach child, navbar dot sorry, oh yes, append child, and I'll add list items, and it should come on the top. Okay, why it is not coming? I think some CSS class issue. Okay, so nav should have the class for nav items. Okay, that also we can add directly. So I'll take my list items dot add class list dot add, and the name was nav item. Thanks. So nav item, and I think it should fix. And if you see, item list dot, so if I class list, no, it was list, no, it was name, I have given it wrong only, but this class was add class. Something is missing, which is class list. Okay, it's class list dot add. Nav items is already there. Why items or item? Okay, let me try again. No. Okay, so I missed some class name. It may have added twice, is it? So if I again see the list item, no, this is what we have, right? Where I missed. No, but that is in DOM. That should take automatically. You are saying that I have added into add and not added. No, that is the beauty of DOM. Because if you see, even first I have added the anchor tag, then I have added the link tag, and then I have attached it into the UL tag. So if that anchor so you may share, if I do attach, it will work again, is it? So navbar will be the last item, will be this one. Okay, last child dot get attribute, and if I say class, I get nav items. So class is already added. That's what. So that is what the DOM. So even if you add attach later, it is still in memory, and the data is already attached to it, and it goes. Maybe I missed some another class or something, but as we are able to send, if I click on this, it will work as a common regular the link button. Okay, so this is what I had for you, and just on the presentation. Yeah, so with this is chaining and finding also. We did how the chaining is working. Like whatever we did, the node, the array, that is what we call the chaining part. And we did the traversing as well. Child nodes, parent node I didn't show you, but last child, first child, siblings we saw. So that's all. I think that's all we have. So that's all. Thank you for your time. I think I was able to help you in some way. So this is why DOM is very much important. If we get to know on the DOM, we can control the other things as well. Cool. Thank you. Now I'll request. Thank you. Now we can have a 5 minutes break. Only option. And from JavaScript it was jQuery, and from jQuery we it was written that do write do and less more, something like that. We'll have a 5 minutes break, and then we have Shruti to take on the next one. Thank you.
Desktop.
बस वही मुझे एक चीज़ थोड़ा सा ऐसा लगा माइक अगर पकड़ लेते तो ठीक है उनका लेना पड़ेगा है ना बाकी आपका प्रेजेंटेशन
Can
बहुत
you-
इंसाइटफुल था रियली हेल्पफुल एक्चुअली अच्छा था
कल रात से शुरुआत की है
Pankaj
भी
sir,
तो
can you
Shruti-
help me in?
माउस
Okay, can you
अरे,
help me
you
put
can show
that
that Laravel
desktop?
live screen.
What?
Desktop background. We'll be back after a short break.
Have you converted into PPT?
Sorry.
यू वांट मी टू 1 minute
Yeah, wherever my.
ये रही है
Have you converted to PPT also?
Yeah, I have.
Or else, whatever my PPT is there, you can mute this. No? Can you mute this? So that our voice will not go on. यहाँ होगा ना यहाँ पे होता है ना हाँ म्यूट
Great session. Learned a lot of things. Somebody says.
Oh, is it? So you didn't learn?
I did.
You said not me.
No, I didn't say it.
Shruti?
Yeah, we also took a lot of time to come. Yeah, just add the background or just double click this. Hey, how is
on
this
my
thing?
desktop
Sorry.
you want me to
Just open this and keep this as a screensaver.
Yeah, or we'll be back after a short break was also there.
Have we written like that something? I don't know.
Yeah, I have.
We have to write all this and prepare from it. It's muted, right?
I hope so.
Mute नहीं हुआ सर. You had this photo already, is it?
It was not muted.
oh I don't know
It's okay. If you don't know how to unmute, then my session will be
तो माइक छोड़ दो देखो बंद हो जाएगा सिस्टम
अरे शॉर्टकट होता है ना यार. can check.
Audio and
Even
this is all
streaming is on, right? On only.
It's on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's playing.
How many people we have? 11.
11, is it? Okay, it's Shruti in alphabets SHRUTI
Okay.
744 that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Am I visible? Probably. Or
It is freezing. Whatever we spoke, everything is recorded.
that's okay.
It's stuck. Do I need to?
Play?
How is it? Your face is not proper.
No? Oh no, that it wasn't.
It will take some time.
Yeah, that's lagging a little.
I think see this is how it's right.
Do I have to? So sorry. This is my first. This is after a very long time. I'm accessing Windows, so I'm very sorry. I might mess up things.
You're an Apple person.
Yeah, we had a slight glitch in the morning. I forgot my USB to HDMI.
If you need, I have it in my bag.
Really?
Yeah, I always carry that.
But I think it's okay. We are set up, so we can't stop the stream.
Yeah, let's start.
It's great. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Shruti Balasa, and a very hardcore fan of Tailwind CSS. I think you know about that already. I'm a full stack web developer actually, and currently a tech educator. So I'm almost like a freelance. I don't know if I should call myself freelance or self-employed or what entirely. So I'm a tech educator. So pretty good with that. Yeah. Solopreneur, or indie hacker, whatever is the new name for that. That's I'm yet to figure out what to call myself also. So I create courses, I write books, I create tutorials on YouTube, and then upload a little content on Twitter, and then I write blogs, I talk at tech events, and here I am. This is my first small meetup. I've spoken at virtual tech conferences which are global, but in Bangalore I'm very happy to be talking for the first time about tech, but otherwise I have been part of other events before. So today we're going to be talking about Tailwind CSS. So before even I jump in and directly start talking about it, I want to know how many of you have heard of Tailwind CSS. That's an easy question. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, how many of you use Bootstrap? Because you would have heard and used it also, I guess. How many of you use Bootstrap or have used or know about it? Okay, a lot of people. How many of you use Tailwind CSS? Great. So we have 3 people using it. I don't know. We are live also right now. This is being streamed, so I don't know how many people are answering there. That how many of them use Tailwind CSS. So here I'm going to start with a very basic introduction, just for people who have absolutely no idea what it is, for 5 minutes, and then we get into few demos which even people who use Tailwind CSS regularly might not know about. Right? So that way people who use it regularly will also benefit, and the first timers will be like, wow, this is possible. So I hope to do that. Right? So this is the quick overview. We'll see what Tailwind CSS is. Some very quick rapid demo. I'm good with that, I hope. And why is everyone crazy about Tailwind CSS? Why the hype? A lot of people don't understand even after using it a couple of times. What is this? You put all classes in HTML. Why is it so hyped? Right? And we'll walk through the docs. And then many people face issues installing Tailwind CSS, and that becomes a barrier because they don't understand how to proceed beyond that. These are people who are not, who don't use Node or NPM much. They're just directly from HTML and CSS, they're directly jumping into a framework, and then suddenly they see that you need to install NPM, you need to add some config file, you need to set it up, and not everyone's comfortable doing that. We'll just quickly understand what are the things that go into installing Tailwind. Very simple actually. And then I was assuming there'll be a lot of Laravel developers here. So I will be including a quick 2-3 minutes of how to install it in Laravel. Even if you don't use Laravel, you'll at least see what Laravel is for the first time maybe. And then some customization, because many people think Tailwind is a lot like Bootstrap, which you have to use the way it is, and they say, no, I don't like Tailwind colors, or I don't like this. No, Tailwind is not awesome for its defaults. It's awesome because of the structure behind it. It's you can almost take the way it is and change everything inside. I mean, change the outlook, but on the inside you can use the power of Tailwind CSS. So we'll just see a little bit of that also. So, Tailwind CSS, quick intro. This is what it is in very, very simple terms. You have HTML, and then you have a few hundreds, thousands of classes that you can use, class names that are readily available to just, it's like Lego blocks, right? You all have played Lego in your childhood. Just pick up tiny little pieces and start making anything of your own. You can make a ship, you can make a building, you can make a park or anything. So Tailwind is just like that. It provides you with a lot of building blocks of very, very minute, elements, right? Very tiny blocks. So Bootstrap on the other hand is slightly bigger blocks. If you want to really compare the two and understand, Bootstrap will have slightly bigger ones, and if you have to customize Bootstrap, if you've ever used it, and if you want to change the color of a button, you know there are some Bootstrap classes and there are some custom CSS also, right? And you'll have to sometimes use important and things like that to override it, and then somewhere else it's not working, and you wonder why it's not working, and then you go and see, you have to scroll through an entire custom CSS style sheet, or even if you inspect element, you have to literally figure out it. It takes a lot of effort. Bootstrap is great for beginners, because even today if somebody asks me, I've learned CSS, what do I do next? Shall I jump into Tailwind? I say no. You work with Bootstrap. You understand how you can work with a framework quickly, and then jump onto Tailwind is what I say. So Bootstrap is a good framework to start with. But then if you want to customize it or want to tweak it a little also, it gets hard. So Tailwind on the other hand, it gives you minute utility classes, small ones, something like BG white. It's very evident of what it does. Background white. And then P8. The moment you see it, you might not know what it is, but P is for padding, right? And P8 means it adds not 8 pixels or 8 rem. It has a little different kind of calculation. But if you want to quickly calculate, you can do 8 into 4, whatever is the number, those many pixels, right? Or divided by 4, you can do those many rems, something like that. I'll just show you the. So P8 means it's giving a padding, overall padding of 8. 8 is a scale of Tailwind. Then on the span, you can see there's an underline. I'm sorry, I forgot to add that underline here. It actually adds underline to the text. This is not a direct, whatever demo. And then text center. Text is in the center, right? This is what Tailwind CSS is. For the entire HTML, you can pick up any classes, any number of classes, and put them all together to make your beautiful web page. So let's, it's time for a rapid demo. Let me close the slideshow. Do I have to end it? Okay. End slideshow. And I'll use the mouse, sorry. Yeah. So to learn Tailwind CSS, what I suggest is don't jump into installing it first, right? Because that will demotivate you. First, go to play.tailwindcss.com, right? You get everything here. It's the playground. And even today, if I want to quickly test something, I use play.tailwindcss.com. Let me just shift to dark mode. Yeah. So you don't have to worry about this. That's too small, right? I'll increase the. Okay. Is this good?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me remove all of this that's there. Okay. And let's simply add a heading. All right. So something like get started with Tailwind CSS, and you notice that if this was in regular HTML and CSS, you'd see this in bold and you would see a bigger font size. But Tailwind will remove all of that, and I'll tell you why also. Let me simply add a paragraph, like, you know, this works, yeah. Say some lorem ipsum. Now you'll notice that H1 and paragraph both are of the same size and same font weight. There's no difference at all, because Tailwind removes almost all the default styles of that the modern browser adds. It uses a modern normalize, so it removes all the heading styles, it removes all the list styles, because so many times you add ul, li, and you see that, you know, those annoying dots come up. We want to use that for probably a nav bar or something. Usually nobody uses ul, li for list items these days. We use it for something else, and Tailwind automatically removes all those styles, right? Even images, they are not inline elements in Tailwind. The moment you add an image, it's a block level element, because usually images, come on, who uses them inline these days, right? So those are some opinionated styles that Tailwind has added by default. The moment you install Tailwind and you add this Tailwind base, I'll again tell you what this is. That's what it does. So these base styles is what we get by default when you install Tailwind CSS. Now this is a playground. Assume that this is your work, this is your project in VS Code or something like that. This is how it will be structured also. So now let's style the heading and paragraph as well. So let's look at some text styles. So simply add a class, okay, and say font bold, okay, and then you say so you get font. If you saw the suggestions, you get all of these. You get font light, you get font normal, you get font medium, you get font semi-bold. So you see the differences, right? See the change. You get bold, extra bold. Let me leave it at font bold. And then I want to increase the size. So you have all of these options then. Text XS, which is extra small, SM, base, LG, XL. You usually don't have to wonder, okay, shall I add a font size of 1.5 rem, or shall I add 32 pixels? You don't have to think in terms of numbers. Instead, you start thinking in terms of large, small, LG, XL, 2XL, things like that. So I can leave it at 2XL here. And then for the paragraph, let's say I want to simply add some margin top, that is MT. So just M will be margin, and then if you want margin bottom, you can say MB. If you want margin top, it's MT. If you want margin left, it's ML, margin right, MR. So that's how it is. And if you want margins on horizontal margins, then you add MX, because that's x-axis. If you want vertical margins, you do MY. So now I want a top margin, so I'll say MT and then just add 2, and you saw that there's a slight margin between the heading and the footer. This is great. Let me add these two within a section. Okay, and let me add a padding to this section, okay. Let's say P12, so it looks much better now, or maybe P8. And let's say I want to add some background color. That's something you do. Now Tailwind gives us so many colors. You can check out in the documentation. Almost, I think earlier it used to be 200, but now I think it's more than almost like 800 shades of colors, which are hand-picked. So they have not randomly used some numbers and given. They have made sure that each of these shades, say for example slate. Slate is a slight shade of gray that you see. So if you use BG Slate 50, it's a very, very, very light shade of gray. And then when you use 100, it's a slightly darker shade. 200 even darker, 300 darker, 400 much darker, up to 900. So each of the colors that you have, like slate, gray, and then there's zinc, all of these are shades of gray. Different, there are 5 shades of gray. I mean, that's amazing, right? And then, yeah, you can use red. So you see there are, I think 20 odd colors, and then into 9 number of those many shades, into 10 actually, if you count 50 also, yeah, 50 to whatever. So let's just use some very nice, maybe indigo or something, yeah, maybe indigo, did I miss something? Yeah, indigo 100, okay, and let's quickly add some margin. M8, so it comes out of it, and let me add some rounded corners because nobody uses sharp corners anymore. And for that you don't have to do border radius. Here it's rounded, it's more verbal, like it's easy to understand. Rounded, then you have small or medium or large, something like that. Okay, so let me leave it at large. Now you saw I didn't leave my HTML at all. HTML file is all I'm working with, and I have the style. So I don't have to name this section something like, getting started section, get hyphen started hyphen section, or I didn't have to give it any name, and I didn't have to then go to the CSS file and then think, okay, wait, what name did I give it again? And then come back. Yeah, of course you can use, there are some extensions that you can use which will help you, but even then, it takes a fraction of a second to lose that flow that you're going with. You have to name it something, think of a name. I'm very bad at coming up with names for these elements, and then go to your CSS file, make sure you haven't used that name before, right, because that's going to create some different kind of problems, and then come back. And, it takes much longer. That's why I call this rapid development with Tailwind CSS, because you're in the same file and you can do things much faster. Now this is a small introduction. Now this can, let me just add some image or something so I can show you how great we can make it responsive also. Let me just grab some image from Pixels. Okay, I want some horizontal image. Let me search for nature. Yeah, something like this. Copy it. Okay, so I don't know if you've noticed, if you directly add an image into your, without CSS, this image would have gone all over the place. Right? It by default, Tailwind makes sure that the image max width is 100%. So it fits within the container. You don't have to do anything extra at all. But of course, we will add some height maybe. You can add heights like this, say H. It starts from H0, H1. So you see, you can add any amount of height, or you can even use max height there, so it doesn't go very big. So let's say we add a max height of 80 or something. You might not see the changes here, but when, yeah, you'll see that it's maxed out at 80, right? Let me add, view this in responsive mode, yeah. Great, so now this is about the, just a layout. We haven't added any media queries. Now in CSS you'll have to add media queries to make it responsive, but we'll see how to do that in Tailwind. Now this is a mobile version. It looks fine in mobile for me. Now let's say we go a little wider. For slightly wider screens, we might want the image on the left and then the other two things on the right. So for that, let me simply add a wrapper div. I don't have to call it wrapper. That's the best part. I can just have a div and then later add some styles to it. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, and now this is fine for mobile layout. For slightly bigger screens, like we have breakpoints, you can use an SM breakpoint. So this is how you do it. For small, medium, large and extra large screens, you can add SM colon, or you can say MD colon, or you can say LG colon, and then add styles accordingly. So now let me just say SM so you'll understand what I'm talking about. And here I want to use flex, right? So I'll say SM flex, and immediately you can see that we have these two, the image and the div placed next to each other. I want a gap, so I'll say SM gap of maybe 4. Okay, and then let's say I don't want max 80, that's too much, max 64. Yeah. And then I want this content to be in the center. Now that's again Flexbox features. So I'll say SM. You notice you have to add SM to every single utility class that you want to add, because you add all of these, imagine adding all of these in CSS under a media query, min screen or min width, so and so. It's the same way. And let's just say item center. So this is similar to, you can see the CSS equivalent there right next to it. It says align item center. So that's what we are doing, align item center, and it's in the center. Now this much, and we have simply just 7 lines of code is all we wrote, right? Yes, the generated CSS is something that's huge because it has added all the base styles, and then you can see that our styles have started adding here, right? M8, MT2, these are the classes that we wrote, and only for the classes that we write, Tailwind uses those class names and gives the styles for those, right? It does not include, earlier versions it used to include an entire framework, like Bootstrap comes loaded with all the class names, whether you use it or not, they just give it to you, right? But Tailwind is not like that. It picks up the ones that you use in your code and only then adds them here. So that way it's a very small CSS file, even for extremely large projects. They've seen that the performance and the length of this CSS code is much smaller, because you usually use, if you're using M8 in one place, you usually use M8 in multiple places also. And here it's just one line, right? M8 is the class name you'll use, let's say, in 20 places. But it translates to just one CSS rule. But if you're using it in regular CSS, you will add that margin 8 rem or whatever in 20 places. Because for each element you add that, correct? That's why for very huge projects, Tailwind is even more efficient and it reduces the lines of code if you're following proper design system. If you're having margin 8 in one place, 6 in another place, and you're using like 20 different colors and different things, then yeah, the performance is, I think it will not make much difference. Right, so this was about a very quick demo that I wanted to show. Next, we'll see why Tailwind is so hyped about. I'll talk to you about, I think, 4 different demos. Yeah, so this is the first one. Yeah, this is the first one I have. It's the most difficult thing to do in web development, right? Centering a div. It's so hard. I mean, why can't there be something like a center tag or something, or just some center everything, maybe a single CSS rule that could probably do it. Yes, it is easy and it's talked about a lot in Twitter, especially nowadays. You see every other person giving you a tweet of, how to center a div, but still it becomes difficult to remember of what to do. So let's quickly go to this link. I want to continue, yes. Yeah.
Question is how to extend the same styles for similar blocks. Should we add the same inline code to multiple blocks to extend the same styles?
Okay, I'll talk about that. Can you remind me towards the end that I'll talk about this, okay? So now this is the text. I want to center it within this page and also add some gradient to the text, not to the background. I want to add some gradient to the text and you'll see how quickly this can be done, okay? So first, let me add some background color to the whole section itself. But first, I'll have to make this section occupy full page. That's the most important thing. That's the first thing you need to do. And you can use H screen, sorry, it's H. You can use H screen to make it occupy the entire page. Let's say BG slate 700. Okay, so if without H screen, this is similar to viewport height 100. So let's say I don't have this, then we'll not have the background color, and this you cannot center the text because that element itself is so small. So you either add min height screen or head screen. I usually prefer adding min height screen because in case the text goes longer, then it'll go beyond the screen, right? And then, so there are two ways you can do this, using flex or using grid. I don't use the translate method because it seems hacky, and flex and grid are easily available. If you do it in flex, then Tailwind CSS, you can do it in 3 class names, just simple 3 class names, that is flex and say justify center and then item center. It's in the center. It's not in the center because maybe we have not given it a width. Let me give it a max width SM or something. Yeah. Text white and text center, but these are I have done text 4XL, so let's say this is text XL or something. Now it's in the center, right? And now let's say this is all you need to do. You add 3 class names to the parent element and automatically the child is in the center. There has to be only one child, but so if you have a heading and a paragraph, then you better add it into a div to center it, otherwise this will not work. So if you have just one div or one element within a parent and you want to center it, simply add these 3 classes, flex, justify center, item center. You don't want 3 classes, you want only 2 classes, just do grid and place items center. That's it. It's in the center now. And now let's add some gradient to the text. So for that, let me make it a little large. Okay, so now we'll be adding some gradient, and the way to do it is first add background gradient. In Tailwind, you don't have to again use, I can definitely not remember the syntax of how to add gradients from and to, and then you add color stops, all of that, because I use this. So here you just need to do BG gradient. Do you want it to top? So the first one is to T, that is to top, that's from bottom to top, or this is to bottom, from bottom to top right, or this is to right. It's the direction in which you want the gradient to flow. To top right, to bottom right. So let's simply use to right. Now, so if I want a gradient from left to right, and then I mention from which color to which color. Okay, first you mention the direction, BG gradient to whatever, and then you mention the color saying from. So let's say from purple 200. Of course, it's not adding gradient to the text yet, we'll come to that. From purple 200, let's say to pink 300. Okay, now this is adding a gradient to the background. Next, we use the clip. Okay, we just say, I again can't remember this. I type clip and it gives me what I need to do. Use BG clip text, and most important is you have to make the text transparent now. Otherwise, because we've made text white, we'll have to change that to text transparent. Yeah, and we have the gradient. Maybe you're not able to see it because the colors are not the great ones. Yeah, I'll change it to maybe cyan or something. Yeah, still. Yeah, you can see the gradient from left to right. So the 3 classes that we added, or maybe 4 classes we added, is BG gradient to right, and then we said from which color to which color, and then we did BG clip text, and then text transparent. I would never add gradient, text gradient if I had to do this in CSS. I'll give up. I'll say, oh, forget it. It's okay. It looks nice, in white itself. Yeah, maybe Tailwind makes me lazy, but because it's Tailwind, I take an extra step to make things look beautiful, because it's not so difficult. You don't have to Google every single thing, figure out what property it is and what's the CSS value that you need to add. And there is this auto suggestion that's really nice. And this comes in VS Code also with an extension. Again, if you don't know, I'll show it. This was the first demo. Let's look at the next one, which is, yeah, spacing and dividers between children. Let me show you. Okay. Has it? Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, it will take some time to load the preview. I don't know why. So we simply have a small navigation here. Let's say it's a side navigation or something. I haven't gone into details. What is this? Okay, so we simply have a navigation. This is a very common thing, right? You might have a left navigation or something, and you have these this 5 list items with anchor tags with links to each of the pages. Now, so many times you will want to add space between the children and not above and below. So if you add a padding top to each of the items, then you end up with a top padding as well. And you'll have to do li first child or something like that, and then remove that padding. Or you'll have to do it like margin bottom, and then you'll have to do li last child and then remove it. But in Tailwind, there's a very nice utility class you can use, which is, let's say, it's for the parent element. So you can add this class to the parent element to space out the children. That is space y and space x utilities. So space x is if you're using flex and it's all these items are placed horizontally, you can use space x to space out the children. Or if you're using this in our example, you can do space y, and notice on the right we're able to see that there is spacing, right? No top padding, no bottom padding. Neatly only the child items are spaced out the way we need. Right? You can do the same thing. Let's say you can add dividers also using this utility class called divide. It's not suggesting. Yeah, same thing. Divide x and divide y, and yeah, this is the thickness. Divide y or so of course I've not added padding. In this case, you'll have to add padding to each of the items, assuming that they are. In this case, you'll want padding on both the items, and then when you hover, you'll want the color to change or something. And you can change the divider color by saying divide slate, let's say 600, and then you want an opacity of say 50 or something. You can say /50. So it's like you don't even have to use another utility class to control the opacity. For anything, for any background or any color that you're using, you can just use a slash and then say, you can say 10, that means opacity is 10, opacity is 20, 25, and so on. So whatever color it is, slash any number, whichever is available in Tailwind, that gives you the opacity. The transparency or whatever, and you can see the exact CSS rule for that. So it's using borders and it's using sibling selector there, and again I wouldn't remember how to do this in CSS, and then it's using the RGB syntax with slash. That's how it's able to convert whatever utility class to Tailwind CSS. Okay, so this is pretty easy. There are so many such things loaded in Tailwind CSS, which a lot of us are not using. And then let's go to the next demo, which is, control click. Yeah, so let's say you have this contact section on your page, wherever, and then you have this contactors and you have the number displayed. Usually, why would we display the number? So that somebody can copy it and probably paste it on their phone or send it to someone and then do it, right? So that's the normal behavior if you're using it on phone, which most people today access websites from their phone. They open it and then they see the contact number and then they try to select it. You know how difficult it is to select text on phone especially. And here you can simply use a for such cases, you can use this utility class called select all. Okay, and then now if I just click on it, it selects. This is there in CSS also. This is not a Tailwind only feature. This is the CSS rule. You can say user select all, but I didn't know about it, and I learned this about CSS through Tailwind. Right? I learned so many things that way. So when you add select all, it just, in one click you'll be able to select the entire thing. It works with email IDs as well. It's better not to use the mail, mail to attribute, because that way it'll open the default mail browser, and that's not what you're using, especially in, it opens Outlook maybe in your system Windows, and then in Mac it opens mail client. I don't use mail client. So usually people try to copy it and then they have to drag. The simple utility class will add it'll enhance the user experience for people, right? And you can change this color also. This selection text, you can change that using, selection at this one, selection colon, and you can give it a color. I think that's how it works. Let me check, I'm not sure. Yeah. So you can change the BG color, and then you can change the text color also. So let's say selection, and then again, I'm not sure if this is how it works. Yeah, the text color also changed. And this same thing in CSS is this much. Okay. So this is a very cool feature that you can start using right away if you're using Tailwind, just for contact numbers, email IDs, or even code snippets. You can simply give select all, and people will be able to select it easily. Then on to the last demo, I guess. Yeah, the typography plugin. Now what I want to say is Tailwind comes with a lot of first party plugins. I think they have about 4 official plugins that you can use. Apart from that, there are a lot of people developing plugins for Tailwind. So it's not just one single framework. Now you find something easier. I developed a plugin, maybe, I don't know, you can check my Twitter for that. I'll probably share it again, to make grids really easy. With one single utility class, you can get a responsive grid. Right? I created that plugin myself. That way there are so many useful plugins. One of them is typography plugin, which is given by Tailwind itself. It's their official one. Let me just show you how that works and where it's useful. So yeah, this will take some time to load. Now let's say this is just some HTML that you have, probably your blog post or something. You can see heading, you can see some paragraph, you can see block quotes, and you can see some lists, and then you can even see some code snippet. It could simply be your blog post, right? But in the moment you add it, this is what you see. No headings and no paragraphs, everything looks the same. And it's quite difficult to add class names to each and every heading and paragraph, and usually it's the same. All headings in a blog post especially, you would want them all styled the same way. If you have 10 blog posts, you'll want all of them to appear similar. So Tailwind has this official plugin, which is typography plugin, and to add that, you can include it like this. Go to the config file and just say, don't worry about the error here, that will be gone in a moment. Require the plugin. So if you install Tailwind CSS in your system, you will have to install this also. And then do this, Tailwind CSS / typography. And then add this in the plugins like so. Okay, I missed something. No, yeah, now it's fine. And now once you've included the plugin in your configuration file, for the parent element, like the section is the one that's holding all these elements, for the parent element, simply add pros. And you see, everything is just very beautiful in one single moment. And all you've done is just HTML, right? This is how it's supposed to work. I wish all browsers gave us something so beautiful the moment you added some HTML elements. It's supposed to be like this, but yeah, it's not this beautiful. Tailwind makes it look much better, and even these tables, you know what table structure we get the moment we add it without any CSS, right? But here it looks beautiful, it looks pleasing to the eye. And let's say you want it slightly larger, after prose, you can say prose LG. So everything slightly becomes larger. That depends on the styling of your blog post, or you make it SM, and then everything is slightly smaller. All of these are customizable as well. I will not go into those details today, but it's possible. It's not that it's, they have given these values and it's final. No, it's not like that. Great, so these are some of the things why Tailwind is hyped about and why people use it so often, because it makes things very easy. And then, yeah, so I'm not going to zoom it in because you can see it anyway. When you're lost, use the docs. It's as simple as that. The documentation of Tailwind is the best I have ever seen till date. I'm not saying this only because I am I'm not paid to do any of this, by the way. I'm not saying any of this because I am a fan, but really I have not used any documentation as much as Tailwind because it's so easy. I have learnt everything from the docs itself. tailwindcss.com. I'll switch to dark mode because it's, yeah, and you can go to the docs. So people do get lost here because the first thing is installation and then they see these commands. That's the next thing we're going to be covering for maybe 5 minutes. So forget about all of this, right? Come down and simply just start looking at the layout. Let's say pick anything, right? Maybe position, right? Just pick anything and you'll see the class names. Okay, but it's too small. Yeah, so you can just see that CSS rule that it's applying this particular class, and you'll know that, oh, okay, so this is how it works. And this way, yeah, let's say you can click on any of the flex ones, or this is what I showed you, the demo of space between. Right, we use the spacing utility space X and space Y classes. So this is the rule it exactly uses, right? This is called something owl selector or something. It's because it looks like an owl. I don't know. Does it? Eyes and the nose. It's called some owl selector maybe. Whatever, you don't have to go into the details because we know how to use this space dividers, but if you want to learn how it works, you can use it and try and understand what it does. And then they have the examples right below of how it works. We saw that it adds horizontal spacing, and here it adds vertical spacing, and then how to reverse using if you're using flex row reverse, then you'll have to add space X reverse. So when you go through the documentation, you'll understand how many more things are there. And then the limitation is that it cannot be paired with the divide utility classes. We just did that, right? We used space and then separately we used divide because it cannot be combined with this, and that's mentioned here. And then how to customize every single utility class that you go through. There is one section that shows you how to customize that particular class in your configuration file, which again I'll touch upon the details maybe, and then once you look at the docs you'll understand even better. So you can say that if you want space X 5 pixels itself and 5 pixels is not there, then you can add 5 pixels here and you can start using it, right? And then you can see the width utility classes, then there is font utility classes and white space and vertical align, so many things. Just by going through the docs, you'll learn Tailwind CSS and you'll learn CSS also, just like how I did. They even talk about accessibility concerns, where you can, adding what will mess up, something else, and multiple things like that. Then tables and transforms and so on. So I would really recommend that you go through the documentation just like that when you're wanting to learn, and try using the same thing in the Tailwind playground. This way you will understand multiple things. Coming back, Okay, so let's look at the easiest way to install Tailwind CSS in a brand new project. This is a brand new laptop for me, so let me open up VS Code. Can I just create any folder anywhere? Okay. Okay. This might take some time. Well, which will take some time. Huh? Okay, great. So first I'll show the regular, I'm sorry, I'm closing all of these, it's okay? Cancel, cancel. Okay, I'll open a new one. Yeah. Control? M is it? N. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I did that. What's this? Okay, it's showing that there's an error while creating. Cancel installation.
Windows so I can see.
Can I create a, okay, I'll have to create a folder, right?
You can create a new file, that time you can create a new folder.
Okay.
What extension you want to use?
Okay. I'll just say index.html and then can I add a new folder?
You can
Okay, what just happened? Yeah. I'll give a text file, is it?
now press Ctrl S and it will ask you for it. Yeah. So here you can right click and you can create a new folder. It should be new. You can name it and then
Okay. Did it save it as plain text?
no, it's
It's fine? Yeah.
extension shows that it's still
How do I increase font size? Control plus doesn't work? It's not. Okay. Yeah, Control Shift plus is working. Okay. Yeah, this is good, I guess you can see. Okay, this is a plain index.html file, and then let's just have Tailwind CSS and Control J. Does it open the command terminal? No? Okay. Okay, not bad. Okay, so this is a brand new project like you saw, and how to install Tailwind CSS in something, if you just want to have a static website or just a coming soon page or something like that, no framework, just simple HTML, then you'll still need npm. Npm is installed, right, sir? Npm is installed, yeah. So just say npm init. I'm initializing.
You need to go cd into the right folder.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. So I'll initialize this npm by using npm init -y. -y is like just the defaults. I hope that does soon. Okay, we have it. And now let me install Tailwind CSS by just saying npm I install, and I'm saving it as a dev dependency. That's why the -d flag. All of this is already there in the docs. I'm just following the same thing. installation. Yeah, so this is the first thing I'm following these steps, that is installing it using the Tailwind CLI. So if you're not using any frameworks, this is the best way to install, because the other process is using post CSS, which usually a lot of other frameworks use post CSS. If you're not using any of that, then Tailwind CLI is the best. Now this is what we need to do first: npm install -d Tailwind CSS. This might take some time. And once that is done, what we do is we do npx tailwind css init. This is to generate the configuration file, the default configuration file, which we need to change one thing in that. By typing this, it will generate the file. So we can manually also create new file and say tailwind.config.js and then type out the default configuration, which is this. But since we have a command, it's easier to use that. Okay, that's done. Let me just say npx tailwind css init. That will create the no, not the outline, right? Open folder, yeah. I think I left open. See.
Maybe it is not showing that home modules.
Let's see. Okay, it opened it again. No problem. Yeah. Okay, so you saw that did work. Tailwind.config.js has been created with the defaults. And here, what we need to do is, now like I said, the utility classes that we added in our HTML, each of them were picked and it was converted to a CSS rule, right? Now for Tailwind to know where you're using those utility classes, you have to mention the path that, see, my HTML files are located in this particular folder. Otherwise, it doesn't know where to look into your project, and if it has to look into every single file, it's not efficient, right? That's why they have this content, key or this particular place where you add your paths. That this, it's either located in my public, or in Laravel, it's located in resources, views, or in our regular HTML. I mean, it's just there right in the root itself. It's the way you add the path. This is where a lot of people get lost, or they probably do it something wrong and they don't know. They blindly copy this and then it's not working, right? So let me copy it, but then I'll change it. So here in their example, they're assuming that your HTML files are located within the source folder. But that's not true. It's located in the root, and then the ** is within root. We might have some other folder within which we might have the HTML or JS extension. In our case, we only need /HTML. So for now, we can even remove this and just say that any HTML files within the root folder. That's what we are looking at to tell Tailwind that this is where we're using our utility classes, boss. This is what you have to take, and this is what you have to convert for us. So this is very important step, and after this, you just have to add these three directives, because like we said, all those removing the styles for headers and other styles that Tailwind by default adds, it's these three directives that are directly getting converted to those huge number of 30, 40 or 100 odd lines that we saw there. Now this has to be added in a CSS file, which will not be our main CSS file. That's the file we are using to probably customize if we want to add some additional styles apart from Tailwind. Apart from the utility classes, you can add it. You can call it anything. I'll just usually call it tailwind.css in the root itself, and I'm adding these three things. Now let's say you want to add a general style to the body or HTML itself. This is where you add it. But this is not the CSS file you link in your HTML. This is not the final one. I'll show you what the final one is. So go to index, and we'll have to link our style sheet. and then let's simply call it, let's add another folder, maybe css/styles.css. This is not created. Will it create? Yeah. So yeah, so our styles.css is created. Right now it's empty, and that's what we want. Now, using Tailwind, we will convert all of, let's add some, HTML. Let's add some utility classes, like let's say font bold, and then text blue 600. You're not seeing the, what do you say, the suggestions here, because I think there is no plugin, right? Yeah, the VS Code extension is called Tailwind CSS IntelliSense plugin. Once you have that, the moment you start typing T, you'll see those, text blue, the way we saw it in the playground, right? So since I remember it, let's say I've added it, and let me just say hello Tailwind. And now this should work, right? The way to make this work is, let's go back to the documentation and see if we've missed something. No. Now this is the command. Let me copy it once. I'll break it down and tell you what it is. Let's paste it. And so here it's saying use Tailwind CSS. Yeah, use Tailwind CSS, and the input file, so it's asking us for an input file, -i is input, and here it's not a source or anything, it's simply we have that we have Tailwind CSS in our root, right? That's the one, the input file, that's where we are using the directives, Tailwind base, Tailwind components, all of those, and then output it, take that file, we are saying take that file and output it to our css/styles.css. Right, so this single command, and then we are adding a watch flag. That means any changes you make to any of your HTML files, Tailwind CSS keeps watching them and automatically keeps updating your style sheet, so you don't have to run the command again and again. So you can leave this running in one of your terminals, and if everything is right, this should generate our styles. Let's keep this open and see if it gets filled. Yeah, it's rebuilding, so it's done. So you saw that styles.css was empty. It added all the base styles and other things that Tailwind needed, about 500 lines, and then we have our font bold and text blue. To see this, do we have live server installed, sir? Okay. Yeah, so you can see that it's bold and it's in blue color. That means Tailwind is installed successfully. You can add as many other HTML files there, and you can start adding your styles, and it will work. Now if you feel typing this command every time is quite tedious, you can copy it, and in your package.json file you can customize it. You can just say dev or something, add a script that you want, and paste this file, save it, and then let's say, let me stop this. Yeah, and then let's just say npm run dev, and it does the same thing. You don't have to type the entire command once again, right? This is the easiest way to install Tailwind CSS, but if you are using frameworks, then Tailwind docs has it has all the what do you say? Yeah, framework guides. So you're using Next.js, Laravel, Vite, all of these you can take. Maybe Vite is one of the simplest again. Laravel is also straightforward. Maybe because we are running out of time, I won't cover that for today. But it's again very straightforward. It's even updated with the latest change from Webpack, from Laravel Mix to Vite. That update is also there. So these are all the simple steps that you'll have to follow, right? So once that is done, customization is the last thing that we'll be covering for the next 5 minutes, and then we close. So here, let's say, let me close this and this and this also. Now this config file is the very minimal file that we have, and any customization that you do, you can add that, you can use this place to customize it. Let's say you don't like the Tailwind colors, you don't want to use all of the 5 shades of gray, or so many orange and red and everything. That way you can add into the theme, you can say colors, and you can add your colors right here. Okay, you can say indigo, and then, or your primary color, you can say primary and then give your primary color there. Secondary, you can give your secondary color there, or whatever names you want to add it, you can add those and you will find them here. But one thing you remember, if you add it directly within theme, and let's say you add 3 or 4 colors here, all your Tailwind colors will be lost. You won't be able to use them, because it'll override the colors of Tailwind. Let's say you want to use Tailwind colors plus you want to use your own, then don't add that here, add that within the extend block. Okay, so let's say I have a primary color, and then it's some sort of blue like this. Okay, and then it's rebuilding already. It's a different blue. Okay, let me add some other color, like, okay, and then here I'll say text primary. Okay, that's how it works. And if you had the IntelliSense plugin, it will now start suggesting that also in auto suggestions. So whatever you configure, you'll be able to immediately use them as if it was a part of Tailwind itself from before. Okay. Okay, I'll have to refresh, right? Yeah. So you see that primary color has been added now. That way you can customize it to exactly the way you want. Usually we receive mock-ups from our designers, right? And they have a standard set of the first few sheets will be of the design system, right? It has the fonts that you have to use, the colors that you have to use, the spacing, even the media queries, breakpoints, all of that can be customized in your config file, like here. So if you want to use media queries, even that can be customized here in the breakpoints section. Each of that is listed in the documentation also of how to customize it, right? And then I showed you can use the plugins also. So this way, this config file can become your single point of truth for your entire design system. Okay, if you have a particular set of colors, add them here, and that will make sure that nobody else in the team is adding some random color, some other random shade of gray, because they just felt that looked good. That will add inconsistencies. It might look good on that particular web page, but you go from there to another web page, it doesn't look the same. It doesn't look like your site anymore. But if you add all of your keys, your design system keys into this, you can use this file and make any more changes that you want right here. And then when the developer is trying to add the utility classes, they will know the suggestions that are coming in the using the plugin. That's what is available. They can't use anything else. And if they want to use anything else, they have to make change in the config file. So everybody will know that this new color has been added, or this new spacing has been added, or you can even add utility classes itself, entire utility classes also to this, and use it. Now to the question that somebody asked of, let's say I have maybe 10 headings in my file, and then do I have to add these classes all those times, right? Those many number of times. There is one feature that is available in Tailwind, which is apply, right? So let's say I have text primary, and then I have text 3XL, and maybe some more things which are common to all my headings. And maybe we have buttons, and all our buttons definitely have to look alike, except that we have a large button, maybe small button, and disabled state, and all of those. You can usually the best practice is to use components. You will be using frameworks and creating a button component in React or Vue. That's the best way to go about it. And there, you'll have to add this only once if you're using components, and probably if you're using forms, you will have an input component, you'll have a text area component. That's how it is best used, and you'll have to change it only in one place, the styles, right? And you'll have to change only one line ideally. And if you're having a list, then you will be using some sort of components even there. But let's say this is a static, HTML where you're not really using components and it's just a single page, and you want to use headings 10 times and the same thing. Then you can use a class name like, let's say, heading, and then go to your Tailwind.css, and here you'll have to go into a layer that is maybe it's utilities. You can use one of these base components or utilities based on what it is. Since it's a heading, maybe you can use the base layer, and you can say h1. Using the apply directive, you can paste all of these. And now, sorry, not h1, we gave it a heading class, right? So since we gave it a heading class, let me change this to utilities. Usually this will not make a difference, but sorry, thanks. Utilities, yeah. Usually it will not matter which layer you add into, but it's the hierarchy. So if you're adding h1, you're giving a style for h1 also, and then you're giving a style for heading also. It depends in which order it gets added. That's why we need this layer, but usually that's not needed. And now that we have added all these styles, we can use a single class heading and it should work. Let's refresh. Yeah, it gives us the heading. So that way, using apply directive, you can extract classes, but the first priority is to go for components. Don't try to do this every time. Then you're again going back to normal CSS, giving a class name, going to CSS file, and then trying to change it, searching where it is and changing it. This is not the best practice, but let's say you don't have any other option, you don't want to use components, it's one-time thing, maybe it's a small shape, a triangle shape somewhere only once that you've used in your entire file, and you don't want to add like 100 utility classes in one place, then you can use the apply directive. Right, so that's about most of the things I have covered, I believe, for the basics. And yes, we saw customization. Yeah, so that's about it. Thank you so much. I don't know how much you learned from this. If you were listening to this for the first time, I don't know if you were convinced enough that Tailwind CSS is for you. It was just my job to show you how amazing it is. And I do have my YouTube channel. That's why this is also live, so you can go back home and watch it. Of course, you'll be like, how many times do I see the same thing? Yeah, but I have 20 other videos, 25 videos of related to Tailwind itself, some advanced features, and I have grid. I've covered how to use the grid utility classes of Tailwind. That's got about 15,000 views. So it looks like that's a good tutorial. Things like that. So connect to me on Twitter. I think most of you already are, and that's my website. Quite useless as of now, but it's there. So that's about it. Thank you all for watching live also, and we might want to take some questions. So do any of you have any questions here?
Pretty good. I think that covered a lot of stuff.
Okay.
It was pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you.
One question again. So
Yeah.
suppose element will not load on the load once, the user clicks a button, then the element will be displayed. So the question is, suppose element will not load on the first instance, and the element will be displayed. Will the element style also be loaded when the element is displayed, or CSS will load by default?
Okay, this is regular CSS. Wait, let me show you. Okay. Now, these are simple class names. If you observe what this is doing, where is VS Code? Yeah. So you see, this is a regular index.html file, and why is that? Oh, I have to stop the slides, is it? So I want to show you that, see, this is the HTML file and this is the styles.css. So this is how you would normally do it, right? You have a HTML file and then you have a styles. The thing Tailwind is doing for us is generating the style sheet, that's all. And then it's regular styles itself. We are simply having classes. So if you normally do it, you would add this heading class yourself in index.html, and then you would add these styles. So Tailwind is just making our development process easy. So it's not doing anything extra. The way you do your normal development of HTML and regular CSS, it's just adding another layer. Using JavaScript, it's converting our class names into regular CSS. So it's pre-CSS, like it's not doing anything in the browser, or the browser is not doing any heavy lifting at all. It's all done already in your development environment. You have your style sheets prepared by Tailwind. You are not doing it. That's all. That's all the difference. So your development is also very less time. As you can see, 76 milliseconds, and this probably almost just 1 second it took. That's the only difference. So the question was what? CSS is loaded along with the elements, right? Yeah, definitely. It's not loading later. It's just exactly the way it happens with regular CSS. So where are we? It's not adding any additional DOM, nothing. If you view page source, this is the same thing that you see, and then you see the same styles.css, right? Yeah, that's it. Do we have any other questions, Tarun? And that's it, right? Okay, yeah, tell me.
Do we have option to generate all the CSS classes in only one style, or can we separate it into different files? How is that?
No, but the question is, why would you want to separate into different styles? Usually using build processes, at the end we come back to the same thing, right? If you're using Webpack or any of that, it prefers one single CSS and minified. So that's the best process actually. So if we have multiple, so usually that's what the browser prefers. That improves the performance when there is one single resource to load. Because every time you see a link or a script, it goes back to the server, fetches that, and loads it. So it increases the time the more CSS files you have. Right? And usually we'll have multiple CSS files only for development purpose, just so that it's easy for us. But now it's all in HTML itself. So it's already in separate files. And if you want to edit one particular element, you don't even have to go to the CSS file. You only have to go to the HTML file. You have to edit it in that element. So there's no cascading problems also that way. Any other questions? Anybody? It can be as silly a question as possible also.
I think the problem used to remain because purging used to not happen properly. Now with the new implementation updates, like classes get removed automatically. So you don't
Yes.
really have to worry about that problem.
Yes, so in the older version we had to use purge CSS and then remove all the unused classes. So development file would be different from the production file, but here it's all the same. You can use the same file for production also. And yeah, only in case you want to minify it,